Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another rant, and the film that I'm going to be ranting on today is the 2025 comedy film, Madea's Destination Wedding. This is the 13th film in the Madea cinematic universe, because apparently that's a thing, because there's so many fucking Madea movies that we have a Madea cinematic universe now. And it's not the last one, because there's going to be another movie in the other MCU with Joe's college road trip that's in the works. I don't understand the appeal of these movies. I don't understand why people like them so much. I don't understand why they're so popular. It is one of the most baffling things to me in regards to cinema, uh, as well as, you know, people's opinions on certain elevated horror films and maybe a few other things here and there. But this is definitely something that's pretty high on the list when it comes to people's infatuation with these awful movies. But different strokes for different folks, and I'm definitely not the targeted audience. So there is that. But these movies suck. And I've yet to see a single one of these films that was even okay. They've all been terrible. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on Madea's Destination Wedding, I would like to give a special shout out to Shine for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal, my Patreon, or my Cash App. The links are down below for all three, and I will try to get your requests as soon as I possibly can. Now, Madea's Destination Wedding is directed by Tyler Perry, just like the majority of all of these Madea movies are directed by Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry, to me, is the epitome of a filmmaker and an actor and a performer who has just stopped giving a shit. The passion is gone. There is nothing left but a shell of what he once was or what he used to be. This is what happens when you create a character in an IP that becomes a cash cow, and it becomes greater and larger than yourself. And it leads you to basically just be trapped in the shadow of this popular IP, and you can't escape from it. And as time progresses, you become less and less infatuated with not only the IP, but with everything. And that's what you get here. You get very lazy direction by Tyler Perry. The kind of direction that doesn't look anything different than any other direct-to-video movie, Tyler Perry sitcom, or any of these other low-budget Madea films that he made for Netflix. There's no life. There's no spirit. There's no energy to the direction. The framing is okay, I guess, when it comes to the scenes. The usage of camera angles is mostly non-existent unless it's trying to showcase the natural beauty of a particular location of the film it's being shot in, or it's trying to be another extension of an advertisement for whatever brand the film is trying to promote. In this case, it's the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. I mean, the only time the camera ever does anything with like a wide shot is literally to just show the hotel in this movie, or to show maybe the lavish wedding or whatever at the end. But majority of the direction is just very flat, soulless, lifeless, and limp. And doesn't really have any dynamic to it, any style, any flair. It just isn't good. And it's just very inadequate and just at times kind of inept, because there's some moments where it's definitely trying to, I think, showcase some physical comedy, but because of the way that the shot is framed, it loses a lot of the humor and a lot of the spontaneity that you get from a physical comedic sequence. So this is just a badly directed movie. This is just a bad film in general, but yeah, Tyler Perry's direction is terrible. His writing is equally as terrible. He stinks. He sucks as a writer. And at this point in time with this franchise, he's running out of ideas, and he's just resorting to repeating tropes that have existed in other soap operas or were even prevalent in other Madea movies. The plot, if you can even really call it a plot, deals with Madea and her extended family traveling to the Bahamas for a destination wedding of their grandniece Tiffany, who's going to get married to this guy named Xavier. And there's a lot of drama that's going on between Brian, who is Tiffany's father, and Xavier, and also Brian's ex, who is not necessarily the most trustworthy person, Deborah, because of the fact that she had a history with drugs and a lot of things that ultimately led to a divorce between her and Brian. And Brian has his own son as well, who is just the most stereotypical nerd character you can honestly think of. He might as well be the son of Urkel. You might as well hear him say, "Did I do that?" Because the kid literally looks like he's from the same DNA. This kid named BJ. So the film actually doesn't start with the trip to the Bahamas. It builds up to that. And instead it starts with just a lot of boring nonsense. This is dragging things out with family drama, with this dinner scene with Brian and his daughter Tiffany and Xavier and his son BJ and his ex-wife. And then he doesn't like Z, so then he decides to try to get some advice from his mom and dad, Madea, and his father. I'm trying to remember, of course, yeah, Joe, who I guess isn't really an older, I guess is, no, not, I thought it was his father, but I guess it's his older brother or whatever. I guess his father isn't in the picture. I haven't seen the other Madea films in forever, so I completely forgot the continuity. And honestly, even if I remembered or knew about it, I'd probably forget about it anyway, because I just choose to forget these movies because they suck so much. But anyway, he goes to see Madea and his brother, and they get, information or whatever, some advice, and it's a train wreck as usual. They tell him to take his daughter and Z over to the house one day. They'll play some cards and they'll talk about it. And that's when the bombshell is dropped that Tiffany is having a destination wedding. And in typical Madea fashion, there's a lot of scenes that are just really bad, lazy improv. Just a ton of improvisation in terms of the dialogue, rapid fire, one after another. And honestly, none of it is funny. See, improv is fine if something lands and something provides a laugh. If it's just nothing but incessant improv and it's just not funny at all, it's insufferable to watch. And just the way that Tyler Perry acts as Madea and these other characters is just annoying. Like even the opening sequence before the dinner scene, where Madea is there with this other with her daughter or her cousin or whatever. Uh, yeah, I think that he's with her daughter Cora. Okay, so she's with her daughter Cora. She's going to shop for some stuff late at night or grocery store, and there's something involving some guys who try to steal the car, and Medea lighting them on fire, and it's just so obnoxious in terms of how it's executed. And that's just how Medea is, period. All these movies are just obnoxious with these characters. They're just annoying as hell. They speak at 1,000 words per minute, and it's just nails on a chalkboard for me. So, and they always talk over all over each other too, which makes it even more irritating and even more obnoxious. So the destination wedding is set up, and you have this long scene at the DMV or wherever. I think it's the DMV or the post office. I forgot where it is. It's a place where Medea and the rest of the family needs to get their passports so they can go to the Bahamas. And it's just this long extended sequence that's just not funny at all. And it ends with Medea running through a plate glass window, and then she gets her passport. They go to the Bahamas, and then it's another long, extended, tedious scene that is just one of many advertisements for the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. This entire film is just a commercial for the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas. And it's not even vague or subtle about it. Because there's this long extended scene with the clerk at the behind the desk who's talking about all the awesome things and all the different stuff that you can do at Atlantis. And so because Medea's family's at the resort, there's all these different shenanigans that go on with the different family members. You know, they either gamble or they go on a water slide or they spend all this money on various knickknacks and clothes and all other stuff, or they go to the club. And then there's this other stuff involving Xavier, Z, and Tiffany, and how Brian doesn't trust Z and doesn't like him, and Z's making a bad first impression. And of course, there's trying to be a lesson, because that's what all these movies have. Trying to have a lesson of, like, don't judge a book by its cover, especially near the end. But the way that Z acts is honestly really not that great. The way that he acts around Brian is kind of disrespectful to the father of this girl that he's trying to marry. He makes a bad first impression. He treats the father like he's one of his bros. And it's just not a good first impression at all. So it's not even one of those things where it's surprising or it's really that upsetting that Brian had the impression that he did. And you have a lot of just lazy attempts at comedy throughout, mixed in with the drama. Mr. Brown and him browning his pants. The stuff with the Joe and him being a pimp. The whole stuff with Medea, being Medea. Aunt Bam being horny. Cora being clueless. And then you have this dramatic plot element that comes up about Deborah and how she manipulated her daughter into getting this wedding because she was going to get a divorce with her ex-husband, and the ex-husband set up a stipulation that if the daughter gets married, she gets $1,000,000. So she did all of this supposedly to help her daughter, but she did it in a way that was very shady, and in all honesty, it didn't even need to be shady. She literally could have just told her daughter, hey, I'm getting a divorce with so-and-so, and he set something up where if you get married, you can get $1,000,000. That's literally all that she needed to do. Just tell her daughter the truth from the very beginning. But instead, it's this secret and this bullshit. And then you got this other stuff with Z, too, where it has his mom who followed him there to the Bahamas. And there's this bit at the end where it's a clusterfuck where Deborah is there and Brian is there and Tiffany is there and Z is there and Z's mom is there and prior to this, Madea figured out that the daughter really wasn't the one who had the idea for the wedding because she's just parroting her mom. And there's this bit where you think that maybe Z is cheating on Tiffany with this other woman, but this other woman is his mom, but his mom is literally there and could literally explain in that moment that no, I'm his mom. But she doesn't do that until later. And I'm like, why even wait? That doesn't make any sense. And then of course you get this bit at the end where Brian talks to Z and you have this sob story that Z explains about, his life and what happened and all this stuff where he's being profiled and so on and so forth. And then Brian's like, I feel you, been there too. And then they have this moment where they essentially make up and Z asks Brian for his blessing to marry his daughter and Brian gives it to him. And I'm just like, if it was handled better in a way where, I don't know, the way that Brian initially assumed Z was from the beginning was actually inaccurate. Like if he was trying to be polite, but Brian was the one that was having the problem, that would be one thing. But he was not really being that polite when it comes to their first meeting with each other. And he was kind of acting like he just kind of didn't give a shit or was just very aloof and just not really wanting to interact with Brian or with other people in the room and in a way that's necessarily ideal, especially when it comes to meeting the father of this woman that you want to marry. And so that drama just felt played out to me. And a lot of the drama in this just felt played out. It just felt like something that could have been explained or avoided rather easily. And then it ends in typical predictable fashion. They smooth over their differences, the wedding happens, even the whole stuff with Deborah, who by all accounts is rightfully not invited to the wedding. The wedding is going on despite her because the only reason why it's happening is because of the fact, excuse me, sorry, I just got indigestion, I guess, just thinking about this poor writing again, or more of Medea's awful jokes. But there is this whole stuff with the wedding that happens mainly just because of the fact that Tiffany actually does like Z. Actually does love Xavier. And that's the only reason why it even happens in the first place. So the wedding goes on. Tiffany winds up marrying Xavier. They're going to live happily ever after. Of course, there's still, a little bit of chaos and a little bit of, some shenanigans that ensue because it's a Madea movie. And then it's the end. And I'm just like, what even was the point of this? This literally could have just been an advertisement. Like a 2-3 minute long advertisement for the Atlantis Resort with Madea characters. Or a series of ads with Madea characters. This didn't need to be a fucking movie. There wasn't enough here in terms of a plot for a feature film. Not at all. And so much of it is just painfully unfunny attempts to be comedic, to be funny, a lot of put downs, a lot of zingers, a lot of, insults, a lot of pratfalls and physical comedy that just don't work. A lot of it's funny because they're fat, or it's funny because the guy pooped himself, or it's funny because Madea said she's gonna whoop their ass. Like, it was just such a unfunny, uninspired screenplay and just overall film for me, with completely unlikable characters. None of these characters are really likable at all. They're not charming, they're not charismatic, they're not particularly enjoyable to watch. They all suck in various different ways, some more than others. And then you have the cast, which honestly is not that much better. Tyler Perry, who is just done with this shit. You can tell when it comes to his acting. The scenes when he's playing Brian, you can tell that he is fed up with this franchise. He doesn't give a shit anymore. He has no passion for this. The light has left his eyes. He's just dead inside when it comes to the scenes where he's playing this character Brian and interacting with himself as Madea or Joe. And part of me really doesn't blame him, because I honestly feel that he did not think that at this point in his career, this is where he would be. But at the same time, he's made enough money over the years, he could just retire this character. He could retire Madea, he could retire this franchise, and he could probably live comfortably off of whatever else that he's earned over these decades. But he just can't let it go, because he's so used to being in the public eye and being the center of attention and being a celebrity. So he just can't finish this franchise off. He can't let it go. And honestly, he should, because you can tell that it's taking a toll on him. The man looks older than he actually is. And then on top of that, he looks dead inside. And his performances as Madea and Joe are just as bad and just as lame and just as unfunny and just as unbelievable as they always have been. I mean, Madea is not any different than Martin Lawrence's Big Mama in Big Mama's House. It's literally just the same fucking shtick. And then you have Cassi Davis Patton, who plays Aunt Bam. She's just horny. That's her character. Horny old lady. David Mann is Mr. Brown. He's just an old guy who needs Depends because he craps his pants. He's just Mr. Oops, I crap my pants. That's who David Mann plays. Tamela Mann is Cora. She's just kind of aloof, just clueless Cora. Taja V. Simpson is Deborah. The character she was playing was written in a way that's very unlikable, so the performance was not something I particularly enjoyed watching. Because the character honestly kind of came across like a bitch. And then I'm supposed to sympathize with her? Why? She lied to her daughter for no reason. And then Diamond White is Tiffany. She definitely doesn't sparkle like a diamond when it comes to her acting. There's no acting ability here. Just very flat. And not really full of a lot of charm or charisma or spark. There's not a lot of sparkle at all. Jermaine Harris, I mean, he's just being an annoying, a nerdy stereotype, but okay, alright. Good job, BJ. I guess you didn't blow that one, but it's incredibly hard not to blow that kind of performance. And Xavier Smalls as Xavier, like he honestly acted like he was on Xanax or some shit. Like the guy was just like, man, I don't understand why everybody just, assumes certain things about me and, thinks that, I'm this way and I'm not. And it's just like, what a boring ass fucking performance to watch. Like everything about this cast is just not good for the most part. It's either actors and actresses who aren't that great at acting, or they're all delivering performances that are just very lazy and just don't really have a lot of energy to them, or weight or passion. just there for a paycheck. Definitely has the vibe of a bunch of actors who are pretty much, honestly, kind of done with this franchise, who just did it for a paycheck. And then you got the cinematography by Michael Watson, which is also not something that I would consider to be that strong. I don't think it's total shit, but it's not necessarily a film that has a great look to it. The editing by Larry Sexton is not something that I think is special by any means whatsoever. And the music by Yongig Bontemps, it just sounds like a temp score. It doesn't even sound like a score that was really that original. It sounds like they found some music off a free music library and just threw it in there. This entire movie is hot ass. It's hot tropical ass. You know, that kind of ass where, you know, it's sweaty, it's been in the humidity all day, and it's dripping everywhere, and you know it's just disgusting, and it smells really bad. Um, this movie is terrible. It's easily one of the worst films that I've seen this year, and this franchise needs to fucking die already. Because I don't understand it. I don't get it. I don't get why this franchise is still alive after all these years. I don't understand it at all. It has clearly reached the point where it's got no more ideas left. It's got nothing it can really do to improve upon it or do anything that creative with it. It's diminished returns on top of diminished returns. And it was a franchise that was never that great to begin with. Why keep something that was not good and not very well made and not that high quality, not that high effort going after all of these years? I don't understand it. But I guess it's because there still is somehow, some way, a massive enough fan base for these shitty movies that we're still going to get them. We get a Madea cinematic universe, but we don't get a Dredd 2. That's the world that we live in. And it sucks. I'd rather live in the world where I get a Dredd 2. I get a Dredd cinematic universe instead of a Madea cinematic universe. But anyway, that is just my thoughts on Medea's Destination Wedding. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. See ya.